Welcome back. Today, we are diving into a real masterclass on corporate sustainability reporting. If you've ever looked at a massive beverage conglomerate and wondered exactly how investors and analysts measure its environmental and social impact in a structured way, well, you're in the right place. In this explanator, we're going to decode the specific blueprint used by global financial markets to measure sustainability in the beverage aisle. Let's get started.
Here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. Decoding the SICS framework. 2. The food and beverage sector. 3. Defining non-alcoholic beverages. 4. Inside industry operations. 5. Shared sustainability risks. And finally, 6. The value of standardization.
All right, Section 1, Decoding the SICS framework. Because before we can talk about the drinks in your fridge, we need a map to navigate the corporate sustainability landscape.
So, to really understand our map, we have to look at who actually drew it. The SASB standards are now officially operating under the globally recognized International Sustainability Standards Board, or ISSB, which is part of the IFRS Foundation. Now, why does that matter? It's a huge deal for credibility. It means the metrics we're discussing aren't just arbitrary guidelines. They are deeply integrated into the global financial reporting ecosystem. When the IFRS Foundation speaks, a body that literally sets accounting rules in over 140 jurisdictions, investors everywhere pay attention.
And that brings us to the Sustainable Industry Classification System, or SICS. Unlike traditional industry classification systems that group companies purely by the products they sell, SICS groups companies based on their shared sustainability risks and opportunities. It covers 77 distinct, industry-specific standards. Think of SICS as a highly precise coordinate system for analysts. If two companies share the exact same SICS code, it means they're facing the same environmental and social headwinds. That allows investors to do a true apples-to-apples comparison of their sustainability performance.
Moving right along to Section 2, the food and beverage sector. Let's zoom one level deeper into this taxonomy.
Think of it kind of like a funnel. We start way up at the top with the broad SASB standards. Then we narrow it down into the food and beverage sector, and finally we arrive at our specific destination for today, non-alcoholic beverages, which goes by the specific coordinate code FBNB. Whenever you see FBNB, you know exactly what rules of engagement apply.
Section 3, defining non-alcoholic beverages. Let's see exactly what fits into the FBNB coordinate on our map.
So what are we actually talking about here? The FBNB standard categorizes a massive, incredibly diverse range of consumer goods. We're looking at carbonated soft drinks and syrup concentrates. We've got juices, high caffeine energy and sport drinks, bottled teas, packaged coffee, and all forms of water products. Now, at first glance, a premium bottled water company might seem entirely different from an energy drink manufacturer, right? But under the surface, they both share a massive reliance on clean local water tables and plastic packaging life cycles. So under the SICS framework, grouping them together makes perfect sense because the fundamental resources they extract and the environmental footprint they leave behind are remarkably similar.
Okay, Section 4, Inside Industry Operations. Let's shift our focus from the products sitting on the shelf to how this industry is actually structured behind the scenes. It's vital to recognize the sheer scale we're dealing with. We aren't analyzing a neighborhood coffee shop or a small local juice stand here. The FNB classification applies to an industry dominated by massive international entities. These are globally scaled business models that require incredible amounts of raw materials, vast supply chains, and enormous logistical networks.
A typical day in the life of a beverage brilliantly illustrates the vertical integration typical of these global giants. The operations usually start with syrup or concentrate manufacturing. Then there's massive investment in marketing. Next comes the highly resource-intensive bottling operations where the product is actually assembled. And finally, the vast distribution networks required to get those heavy liquid products out to consumers worldwide. Larger entities are typically vertically integrated across all of these steps, meaning they own the entire life cycle. And because they own the life cycle, they have to own the sustainability risks at every single stage.
Which brings us to Section 5, Shared Sustainability Risks. Why do these specific operations demand their own tailored framework?
Well, the level of precision required is staggering. Investors aren't asking these companies vague, feel-good questions about going green. Absolutely not. They are asking for quantitative, verifiable data measured in gigajoules, cubic meters, and percentages across highly specific operational risk categories.
Let's highlight a few of the absolute essentials for FBNB.
The shared risks for these beverage giants include fleet fuel management, because obviously, moving heavy liquids requires massive transportation networks. Then there's water management. If a company operates in a region with high or extremely high baseline water stress, their very supply chain is at risk. We also see health and nutrition, product labeling and marketing, the environmental and social impacts of ingredient sourcing, and of course, packaging lifecycle management, which addresses the monumental challenge of container waste.
To truly grasp the depth of this standard, let's contrast two totally unique industry-specific risks. On one side, we have health and nutrition. Companies have to track and report their revenue from zero-calorie, low-energy, and no-added sugar beverages. Why? Because shifting consumer trends and global obesity concerns directly threaten the market share of high-sugar products. On the flip side, we have the packaging life cycle. Entities must report the total weight of their packaging and exactly what percentage is made from recycled, renewable, or compostable materials. Managing both consumer health trends and end-of-life container management is absolutely critical for an FF&B entity to maintain its financial stability and its social license to operate.
Finally, Section 6, the value of standardization. Let's pull it all together and look at why investors rely so heavily on this specific classification.
The core guidelines stated perfectly. They note that the standards are intended to aid entities in disclosing information about sustainability-related risks and opportunities that could reasonably be expected to affect the entity's cash flows, its access to finance, or cost of capital. In other words, this is not just a PR exercise. It's about financial materiality. If a beverage company faces a water shortage at a key bottling plant, or faces litigation over misleading marketing to children, or gets hit with regulatory penalties for packaging waste, that hits the bottom line. The FBNB standard links sustainability data directly to financial viability.
Which leads us with the critical thought to end on today. Whether you're an investor evaluating a portfolio or a corporate sustainability professional drafting a report, does your sustainability reporting accurately reflect your specific SICS classification? Are you just tracking generic metrics, or are you rigorously measuring your exposure to the exact FBNB risks that drive real financial outcomes? It's a question that definitely demands an answer. Thank you so much for exploring this with me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.